I put up something on my Instagram yesterday. I put a quote up about being very direct. So I'm actually going to read it because I wrote it, but I just wrote it like real quick, like in the car.
Should I go look at your Instagram?
So I put the quote was, this year, let's respectfully be super direct and deliberate with our wants and needs from others as well as our actions. People are not mind readers, nor do they think exactly how we do. We don't have time to waste. We got legacies to build. And I put, this has been a process for me. I typically like when things are just flow naturally. But over time, I've learned that people really are not in my head. They can't guess how I feel. And it can get tough when you have a lot of things going on. You want someone to be on the same page as you. Recording the podcast for 4 years has helped me a lot. By just being able to express myself, I've learned that we must speak our destiny into existence, and the universe will kind of do its magic. And there's a big but here. We have to be very direct in our actions and our engagement with others. You could pull someone in your life, but are you going to be direct with them and explain why you want them in your life or whatsoever? I put a lot of thought on why sometimes I wouldn't be so direct, and it comes down to many different reasons, but mainly because I want shit to be organic. But we are getting old. Time passes. Our kids are getting older. People are dying. The pandemic or not, the world is always going to world, and it's always going to do dumb shit. And this is just a constant change, and we can't wait on shit to just happen. So start your mission, start your legacy. Say what you got to say with respect. I'm not saying be direct and be an asshole. I'm saying say how you feel. Choose your words wisely. I wasted a lot of time in my life by not doing this, and it's a work in progress.
Nice.
So.
Man, your Instagram be like poetry and stuff. I can't.
Nah, that's just
now I feel like I don't
shit.
compare. Like,
nah.
I'm just teaching people how to make emojis on Reels. Like,
nah. I'm deep, girl. I'm deep. Not everyone wants to go so deep.
Some life-changing post.
Nah, you're funny. I wrote that shit in the car, and it was just a feeling I had at the moment.
Wow.
It was just a feeling, you know what I mean, that I've been feeling. So, and then a lot of people were like, yo, we should talk about that on the podcast. So I was like, do you feel like you're very direct? Well, first of all, what sign are you?
I'm an Aries.
Okay. Oh, so yeah, you direct.
Oh yeah. I think, yeah. So when you asked me that, I was like,
she's like,
you want to ask my brother and my husband?
So you're mad direct. Okay. So
super.
Like, why is it easy for you to be so direct? Do you ever think about that?
No, I just do it. I never really think, I've never thought about why it's so easy for me to do it. And actually it pisses me off when other people aren't. It isn't easy for other folks. Right? It's like, what are you doing? Tell them.
Like, why don't you just say it?
You just do it. Like, so for instance, or for example, I was on a Clubhouse call in a room with someone who, and if you don't know, just Google Clubhouse, it's a whole thing. So we were in there.
That's how we connected.
Yes, that's how we connected. We were in a room and we were talking, and a couple of other people came up on stage and they were talking, and they kind of took over the room, so to speak, a little bit, right? Which I was fine with because I was just relaxing and I was doing other stuff, so I wasn't tripping. But my co-host, the person I was moderating with, was like, I can't get a word in. Like, this is a great conversation, but I can't get a word in. And I was like, well, say something. It's your room. Like, speak up. Tell them. And so when they finally got to a place, I was like, okay, let me reset, and I was like, okay, now do you have something to say? Go ahead and say it. And she was able to say what she needed to say. But I'm always usually that person, regardless. If it's virtual and in person, I'm that person. It's like, Jessica, I can't. And I'm like, okay, hold up. Y'all need to stop. This person has something to say. So I don't know.
So it's always been like that. Yeah.
Even with the advocacy stuff, right? That's why I do advocacy, because I'm always like, oh no, this needs to be said, and these doctors need to know, and I don't care how you feel, and I don't care what degree you got. Even with celebrities, I don't care what celebrity you are. If you come into my room, you need to do the same thing that everybody else in here is doing.
Yeah, there's no difference.
Ain't no difference. The only thing you can do for me anyway is give me money or take a picture with me so I can get some clout. But other than that, I don't want to, you ain't getting no special privileges in here.
Exactly. I'm giving you mad gunshots right now. So with that, do you ever feel like, have you had close relationships with anybody who aren't so direct and it gets like messy?
Yeah, my husband.
Yeah, he's not so direct with you? What sign is he?
He is a Cancer, I think? He's July 20th. Cancer.
July 20th. That actually might be Leo.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah, I think it's either Leo or Cancer.
Oh,
But so you don't feel he is direct? I feel like they are a little bit.
he's,
Nah.
gosh, no. It
Okay.
takes him a lot to get to where he's like, okay, now I'll see something.
Now, have you ever had to have that conversation and be like,
Yeah.
yeah, okay.
Especially with him being a guy, it's difficult. It's complicated. Like,
Now-
step up.
Now, with you being direct, have you ever had the issue of someone thinking you were being aggressive with you being direct, or do you know
Like,
how?
did you make this whole podcast about me? Like, what the
No,
fuck?
I'm just talking. Like, I don't do no notes. I just
Like, I feel like you went and researched it and talked to my
no,
family.
not at all. Nah.
It's always an issue. It's always a freaking issue. I'm always like constantly. So what I've done over the last couple of years is I've done a lot of stepping back. And that doesn't mean that I don't say something when it needs to be said, but it means that I say it in a different way to where I'm more aware of what they may have gone through and their perspective on things versus me just coming at them like, oh no, you know?
Yeah.
So like with my family, for instance, they used to give me a lot of flack about having 6 kids. So it would be a whole thing. Oh, you got all them kids. I don't see how you doing this. And I don't know how you do all of that with all them kids and da, 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 da. And so I changed the narrative to when we were doing, Christmas over at grandma's and stuff. We don't do it anymore, of course, because of COVID. But when I went over and they would say something like that, I would redirect it because I started to see how my kids would like respond to it. Like, what are they, like, why are they, so I change it around. Instead of them saying, or when they say, you got all them kids, I'll say, yeah. So I'm continuing on our legacy. And one of my kids acts just like you. They have your smile or something. So I'll change it around and redirect it. Or when the negative energy would come at me like, you getting big or well, my whole thing is I've always been too skinny. So I've been the opposite. I've been always been too small. Oh, you're so small, you're so little, do you even eat? Da, 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 da. No, I'm fine. Things are going well. And how are you? How are things with you? I see you. Oh my gosh, I just love your eye color. So I always switch it around or find some way to turn it around instead of it being a negative of them coming at me. How can I turn it around and then say something positive and compliment them? And that shifted everything. So now there's a different air when I go over. Everything just shifted from my perspective, shifting and going, the problem really isn't me. The problem is them. They're just inflicting that problem on me because I'm a target for whatever reason. But when I started to shift that, they can no longer do that to me. And it's all about energy shifting. They can only do it to themselves. They couldn't put it on me or somebody else in the family, but it wasn't coming in my way. I wasn't letting them get any more energy, put any more negative energy into me to stop my day from going. So that's
power. Now, what had that shift? Because that leads into a whole lot of conversation that I actually talk about a lot. And I've done the same thing. My life changed once I started doing that.
Yeah.
I my depression, everything. So for
Same
you,
here.
what was that shift? Like, how did that shift happen?
I can't even really pinpoint when exactly it happened. I just know that because it wasn't when I started doing advocacy, because I was still in it a little bit. Like I was still like fiery. You said something, I was like, oh, for real? We can. And then, so I can't pinpoint. You know what? I can't pinpoint. It wasn't something that happened per se. Like it wasn't an event. It was just I had picked up a book and I have it. It's all matted now, but it's Produced by Faith by Devon Franklin.
Okay.
And as you can see, I've been through this book several times.
Hey, that's good. That means it's a good book.
Another copy.
That means it's a good book.
Right? And also Priscilla Schreier's Gideon. And so I read through those books and it just like shifted everything. And I was like, oh, shoot. I'm allowing them to have control over me. And one thing I don't like is nobody having no control over me. That's why I don't smoke or drink or none of that because I don't want nothing control over what I do or what I say. And so, yeah, that was the moment. It was just reading those books. And I can't, like I said, I can't pinpoint when that was, but it was a couple of years ago. And just reading those books and just taking that moment to look inside myself and realize that people were shifting the way that I made my life journey through life because of their energy. I was like, oh no. Y'all
And
not gonna do this no more.
yeah, and I bet once you started doing that, you started to see it, right? Like
Yep.
how long you think it took you to see that? Like once
It
you
was
started
immediate.
doing it, it was immediate.
It
You
was
saw the
immediate.
change.
Because I started with my
That's fine.
husband. Started when I
Okay.
started writing my house.
Yeah.
I started with my kids, and they what? You know, it was like
Mm.
a whole thing because I'd gone through depression for a long time. And with depression, what a lot of people don't talk about is the anger that comes along with depression. So you have that downfall of just being in this hole and feeling like you're in a well and nobody sees you, nobody hears you, nobody sees this deep burning pain that you can't really explain what's going on, to it you being frustrated and upset, you know, like that,
Yeah.
and you ticked off really easily. So I was doing that with my kids, and I started to realize that, and then I was like, oh, I can't do that anymore. So when that shifted, it was like, ooh, you ain't yelling no more. You don't, you don't
Okay.
trip that hard anymore. And then when my husband will say something, I'm like, are you feeling okay? And how's things going with you? And he's like, wait, what? You
Mm.
actually acknowledge me instead of just coming at me? You know,
Wow.
because I could
Okay.
acknowledge when it was something that was triggered in him, that he was just, you know, pointing it towards me, and I can go, wait a minute, hold up. This isn't about me. It's about something that's going on with you. So let's talk about it.
Mm.
Oh, it's different. So
Yeah.
yeah,
That's major that you did that. Shout out to you, because
yeah.
not many people. Like, what would you tell someone that's trying to do that right now and is having a struggle?
If you're having a struggle with it, it's really because you don't know yourself deeply. And I realized that, you know, I was how many kids did I have? I think I was 20. By the time I was 24, I had 3 or 4 kids, right? So I didn't have that time where people usually go off and they do the crazy stuff, or, you know, I didn't have any of that time. I was either breastfeeding or pregnant the whole time from the age of 17 all the way up to my last child was 2013 to 33,
Mm.
right? That whole time I was breastfeeding or pregnant. So you think of all of that time that I didn't really get to understand who I was as an individual, because I sure didn't know it at 17. I was still, you know, I was only 17. Um, I had to take a step back. What I did is I went to 16personalities.com. It's something I tell everybody. I don't own any stake in it or anything, but it's a great website. Did a personality assessment on myself. And then I started to really dig deep into who I was as an individual. What were my likes? What were my dislikes? Why was I lashing out so much? And when I did that introspection,
Mm.
like I said, I don't like anything controlling me. And I started to realize that, and I'm a huge psychology nut too. So
Mm.
just keep that on the back burner, keep that in the back of your mind. I love psychology. Um, the events and the things and the circumstances that happen lead up to who you are. So knowing that I've been taking care of these kids for all these blocks, decades almost of my life, and I never really had time for myself, that was something that I had to step back and go, okay, Jessica, what the heck do you want? What would make you happy? How can you? And then it's about value too. So to your point, to your question, to bring it back around full circle, explore what makes you happy and then find out why you're supposed to be here. And key point here, a little tip, it isn't new. It's something you already do and you've been doing for the longest time, but it's just something that comes so easily to you that you feel like it's not valued by others,
Mm.
right? Or you don't see the value in it. So step back, really explore your childhood, your teenage years and high school. What was the one thing people kind of came to you for? And do that in your business, your life, everything, and you'll feel fulfilled, you'll feel valued, you'll have all those other things coming to you, and then understand that you need to figure out what it is you're supposed to be doing in this world, but then also what excites you, what makes you
Mm.
happy, and then what angers you and what triggers you. Recognize those triggers, and once you know what they are, don't let yourself go back there. Don't let anyone control your energy. You
Yeah.
control it always. So I'm
That,
going to say that. Hopefully that answers the question.
no, yeah, that's power, because you're saying basically you're in control of the situation. Once you start attacking and start using that going back and forth with the person, being extremely maybe direct or being aggressive in the directness,
Yeah.
it can come off a wrong way. But it's like, if you remember that you're in control of your own life,
Mm-hmm.
it will
You can
help you.
control what nobody else does, but you control yourself.
Mm.
And, you know, so Quick example. I know I got 50 million stories, but quick
Nice.
example. My sister was driving. We were in Lake Tahoe. Have you ever been to Lake Tahoe?
No.
Okay. Well, Lake Tahoe is in California. What I think, where's the place that everybody goes and they do like the white parties and stuff in New York? Like what is it
Mm,
called? With like the snow and stuff. What's that place called?
I don't know.
Anyway, it's where Puff Daddy used to do like all his white parties and stuff where like all the Caucasian people live. So I'm going to
Yeah,
put it
I
that way.
don't, I don't know.
It's that is our piece of it here
Okay.
where people kind of go and it's like snow and there's not really a lot of diversity and all that good stuff. So we were there and we were driving and she was about to park. And so a car came and immediately where she was about to turn came and went and parked in space.
Mm,
And she was, I mean, granted, she should have been, right? But she was like, what the living? And we got the kids in the car. And I said, hey. And she's like, oh, I'm going to. And I said, no, you're not. No, you're not. We got the kids with us. Because we were having a good, like, we were laughing and
Vibing,
dancing.
yeah.
I mean, and that one incident, that one action just shifted everything to her. She was fuming. She was PO'd. And I said, you know what? You have a choice here. You can either respond to what just happened, or you can act like nothing happened at all. Because that person did it on purpose to piss you off, to interrupt your day. They saw we were laughing. They saw we were enjoying ourselves.
mm.
Are you going to allow them to interject in our energy and take away all the good vibes we were just having? Or are we going to go around and find another park because there's 50 million other ones right here? It wasn't like the parking lot was full. Like there's 50 other parks.
Yeah.
And she was like, okay. So she did her little breathing thing. She found another park. And as we were going in, the guy I think he was coming out or something like that. And I said, don't even acknowledge. Keep on laughing. So I started to talk to her about something else, right? And she's like, later on, she was like, thank you for doing that. Because here's the thing, our levels of stress, especially as Black women, it's just, so when we have incidents like that continuously, your heart rate's racing, your stress levels are up. It's doing more harm than it is good for you to react to something like that.
Yeah.
When you can just be like, and guess what? Here's the kicker. When you don't respond, they're like, what happened? Why didn't you respond?
Yeah, exactly. And
So you end up winning anyway.
that's powerful. Like so you're basically like, her like perspective accountability kind of coach in that moment. You know what I'm saying?
Girl. I was like, girl, stop. We
And
don't that did not
need
happen.
that. Yeah, people need
happen.
that because that's so powerful and it's so true. And also what you said about, like kind of getting to know yourself again was super powerful because I actually did the same thing to help me. And that was that was like probably the first step to help me, help me with my mental health and my depression that I was going through a lot of my life. It was self-assessment.
Exactly.
Self-assessment was major. And
Huge
I'm actually,
for me too.
yeah, I'm writing a book on it right now. Well, like an ebook.
Good.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's
I was with that post. I was like, you better write an ebook.
Thank you. Yeah, that's what I do. I'm a writer, screenwriter as well. But I've been getting more into it now. Well, thank you. I've always written. I just never did it for like a profession. I always was just really, I just did it. But now I'm stepping into that world.
Did you guys hear that though? Remember what I said earlier? You've always written.
Exactly.
It's always been in you. It's always been there.
You're right. And that's the thing. We have to do that self-assessment to really dig in because, we forget who we are sometimes and not even on purpose. It's just, life, kids, work,
world,
job, stress, death, everything like, whatever it is, like we all have shit going on in our heads and everyone's stress level, what I'm saying, is different. And what one person thinks is really, really stressful may not be stressful to another person or vice versa. So, but self-assessment is key. That was the first step in me. And really, so it was that first. And then the same thing was the perspective shift. Once I started shifting, and what I was really doing was I was shifting every piece of adversity. So that's really what my perspective was shifting. Every single time adversity would come, I would shift the narrative on the adversity.
Absolutely.
And at first I like kind of, I was trying to do it. And I heard it works and all that from some speakers that I follow. And you kind of just looking like, all right, cool. But then I'm like, wait a minute. It adds up. You almost start like really believing it because it's like, yo, like, wait a minute. It makes so much sense.
It does.
Like just the quickest example, you know what I'm saying? But like, it's like, yo, one time I was stuck with two car payments. I was paying $1,600 a month just on cars.
Oh,
So I was going into debt. I was, late on my rent. I was everything, right?
mm-hmm.
And I was like, I was speaking to the universe, to God, to whoever. And I was like, yo, like, I can't do this no more. What, I just need to get out of these cars. Like, I'm killing myself working every day, trying to pay rent and that and bills and do a podcast and like all these stuff. Cause this was only a couple of years ago. And then the first car ended up getting totaled by a tow truck driver.
Oh.
So like the most randomest thing in the world, the tow truck driver totaled it as he was putting it on the tow truck.
Oh.
And I'm flipping out at that moment. And I'm not even that guy. I get very rarely angry in those moments, but it was just one of those things where it was like, that was like the icing.
That was it. Mm-hmm.
So, because all I had was like a flat tire and he totaled the whole car.
Oh.
So just imagine that you're getting your tow truck and then the driver he just totals the whole thing because he doesn't know how to put it on.
So wait, so did he put it up on the tow and then when he delivered it to you?
No, as he was putting it on.
Oh.
And I have the whole thing on tape, on video and everything.
And you were standing right there.
Yeah. The cop was there and everything. But of course the cop didn't do anything for me. You know what I mean? But you know how that goes. And it's so whatever. I dealt with that. Then the next car ended up getting repoed a couple months later. But guess what? I asked for that.
Yeah.
I asked the universe or the world or whoever, yo, I can't handle these cars no more. This is too much. So guess what? Yeah. I got what I wanted. And a lot of times we would have just been so focused on, yo, the tow truck driver did, or a car, like, and you're just like, you're bugging out about the adversity or whatever it is. And you're not looking at the blessing that you asked for. Because I'm a firm believer that you do speak, you speak things into existence or, where your focus goes, your energy flows. Absolutely. So it's like a lot of times it's just ain't going to come out the way you want it to.
Yeah. Yeah.
And, with this post, I was saying about being direct, and that's one thing that I've learned too, even with doing that. So if someone believes in that and says, okay, yeah, you got to speak it into existence, all that type of stuff. I learned even with that, you need to be very direct. You need to be very deliberate. You're not, you can't just say, oh, I want to get I want to get a good paying job. Yeah. You'll get a good paying job. But are you going to be happy?
Exactly.
Yeah, so it's like, okay, no, I want to be happy. Like you have to be very deliberate and direct in your speeches that you're speaking, right?
Yeah.
And that's one thing, but also with people, like that's one thing that I've been trying to work on myself is because it's like, yo, sometimes I just like, don't you ever just like things to flow organically? Did you ever feel like, but you're like, you're direct though. So I don't know.
No, but that doesn't mean, I feel like I keep giving this example of Clubhouse, but
no, it's okay.
With Clubhouse, I don't plan anything that happens in those rooms. I don't plan, I do the title and I let things go wherever they're going to go. And I think for a lot of people that like structure and 6 tips to
Yeah.
I'm more or less like, hey, let's bring everybody up to the stage and let's have a conversation. And where the conversation flows, that's okay. We just let it go there. Instead of it being such a tight knit, I'm the only one that could be on stage and be a moderator and this. Even moving people down to the stage, I don't like doing that.
Yeah.
I leave you up. If you want to move yourself, you move yourself. But so anyway, I do like the flow.
I agree with you. That's how it should be. But I think I've done that a little bit more. I've done that in my life too much. So I need to find out that balance. Yeah. What I noticed I do it big time is relationships, not relationships, like dating or even liking a female. I've thought about it the other day. I'm like, yo, that's how I've gotten, because I've said on this podcast, a lot of my issues, I've always gotten friend zoned. Anytime I really like someone, I've always gotten friend zoned. I've either just, I've had some success, but anytime I really liked someone, I got friend zoned. And I'm like, damn, why? And I'm
where
very
it's like you like them more than they like you kind of thing. In that way anyway.
Yeah, but I think a lot of it was just because now I'm starting to see, I wasn't direct.
Yeah. Exactly.
I would be like, yo, I want to take you out. But I'm not saying, yo, I want to take you out on a date. And it's so silly because I didn't think that mattered.
Have you read the book? It sounds like you may not be spiritual, but it's still, it's a great book. It's called Men are spaghetti, women are no. Men are waffles, women are spaghetti.
That sounds interesting.
You need to read it. It
Okay.
will give you so much insight. It will give you a
Send
lot of
it to
insight.
yeah, send it
The
to
way
me.
that we think in spaghetti noodles, right? We think all over the place, where men think in pockets. So while you may be saying, yes, I want to take you out. We're like, oh, okay, we're going to go out. Because we're all over
Trash.
While you in a pocket, you're like, no, we going
Damn.
to go out.
You're not cool to me. You're not tough to me.
I need more
You're not the
sounds for
measuring
that.
stick
That's
of what
rough.
street niggas listen
Because
to.
now, like, yo, I didn't realize it was like that. Because
Mhm.
I was thinking, like, I felt the whole, like, can I take you out on a date? That type of stuff was more. I always felt sometimes females would be like, oh, like that's too direct. Yeah, so no, I just always thought that was being too direct. I thought that would almost come off as like that was like kind of coming off as like corny, sappy, or whatever that is.
But I mean, so if you define the type of woman that you want to be in and that's not to say that the first date is going to be a relationship, but just defining the woman you want to be in a relationship with, you probably want them to be like that, right?
Yeah.
Or if you don't, then you would come a different way about it, right? But if you want them to be the sappy, like, oh yeah, that's so sweet. Oh wow, yes,
Yeah.
And I'm being honest with you and be real. The kind of girl that is the nice girl, right? That is I care about what you're doing. I care about what's that. We'll be like, oh, that's so, yes, absolutely. The opposite chick ain't.
They're gonna be like that. Yeah, they're gonna be like. So then that's
Why
the
you
thing.
so corny?
Yeah.
They got issues. You don't want that. They got problems. Okay, you don't want to be in no relationship with them.
Yo, it's just so complicated because it's like I didn't even think that, and I get it too. It makes a difference. Like you actually, it's crazy, yo. I think that's where I messed up. Like 30 years of my life is not being so direct with that type of stuff.
Yeah, no, and two, don't monitor yourself. Just be you. If you want to say go out on a date, if that's the way that you talk, then that's what you say. If you don't say that, then don't say that. But just allow it to flow, like you said, right?
But I usually do, and then I always end up like in those situations. So that's why I'm like, damn, maybe I'm just not being direct enough. Like maybe I need to be direct and say, yo, like I want to take you on a date. Like,
it might be more like I like you, depending on the situation, right? I like you. Let's go out on a date. That's more.
That sounds raw. That sounds like really bold. Yo, and it's just funny because it does. It sounds so bold.
Well, you have to define, and I'm gonna be real here, so you can feel like
no,
you
yeah,
want
this
to
is
edit it
real,
out.
real.
You can edit it out, but you have to define what you want, bruh. You want a bone, or you want a wife? Like which one? You want?
Sometimes a little
Because
both.
you're gonna get two different. No, you can't. No,
you can't. You can't find a little bit of both.
You may find that one that might be like, but I'm gonna tell you right now, anyone that really just values themselves will value you, will respect opinion and emotions, all that stuff. At this level of the game, they're not gonna be, you know what I'm saying? It's not gonna be like that. It's not gonna be like that immediately. It's gonna take some time to get to know each other and then move into that. But they're gonna honor and be very open to receiving the fact that you're saying, I like you and I want to go on a date. They're gonna be, oh wow, because they may be looking for a different guy. You got to think too, to our point earlier, the age, when you were in your younger 20s and they might have been like, okay, let's do, but you get older, it's like, I'm looking for now something else, right? I'm at a different point in my life and I've been through all the other ones already.
Exactly.
Now I'm looking for the one that's going to be able to take care of me and I can, reciprocate.
Yeah. Same way. And I'm joking a little bit here too. So, I feel you. You know what I'm saying? I just try. I'm stupid like that. But I feel you. But it's just crazy how that type of stuff really does make a difference. And that's why I was like, I made that post, and that's why I was like, yeah, I think we all should do it because, and even me, a lot of times I think I'm being direct. Like I'll think I'm being, and I actually was like, I'm into horoscopes too and all that. And I was like, I think that's kind of sometimes a Capricorn thing. And I was talking to my friend about it and she was kind of the same way. I'm like, yo, you think you're being direct. Cause it's like, yo, I'm like, all right, I want to take you out. I want to take you out this day. whatever, blah, blah, blah. And you think you're being direct, but it's like, no, they just taking you out. They don't know exactly what it is. They're like, yeah, sure, we'll go out. They're not thinking it's a date. So you think you're being direct, but you're not.
You didn't use the word.
It's crazy.
You didn't use the word.
You're right. Yeah. The world we live in, right? But even, and then when I was thinking about that, I'm like, yeah, that can kind of come down to everything. You know, it comes down to so many different things. Business, getting paid. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. The facts, even with sales, right? Same thing. If you don't say, and I've had situations with that. I won't go to another story, but I've had situations where I'm like, yeah, let's have a meeting. And they'll be like, okay, great. You're going to show me how to do this stuff. I'm like, yeah, let's have a meeting. They show up to the meeting and they're like, okay, and they're telling me what they need. I'm like, okay, great. This is how much it's going to cost. You didn't tell me this was going to cost.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like, yeah.
You know what I do, right? So when you go to your job, do you want to be paid? I do too.
Yeah. No, and you're right. And that's the thing too. And because it's with everything. I've tried to be more of, just because I've always been that let it flow guy. Like, let everything flow. Just let it, organically, whatever happens. So
you need to define flow though. So define what flow means, right? Because for me, flow means allowing things to fall where they may, but being very intentional about how those things fall, right? So it's a little trickier than just saying, yeah. It's not. Yeah. It's not yeah. It's yeah, but in a very intentional way.
Exactly. And also, like I said, as we getting older, it's like you don't really have time for all that. So you do have to be very intentional with that, or just to make those certain point acrosses. Like it is funny, but those key words, like those, like the date, that are like, there's certain key words like pay or charge. Like there's certain key words that I think that in that, like, you could, okay, maybe there's a balance. Like you could have the flow, but you have to be direct in certain key words that are really going to make or break. Because free and charge or pay those are different as words. So, and
I don't know how she got that into her.
How what?
I'm just saying, I don't know how she got that into her brain.
No. I'm just saying, like, just for all different, like, business, whatever the case is, like, those type of things really, really matter. So that's certain things that I've been trying to perfect too in my, like, conversations, or like if I go into something knowing, like, if it's a business thing and I want to get paid for that, I make sure I say, like, okay, just so you know, this is what I charge, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
But, and then you go into it. So it's like, just on a grand scheme of, like, so many different things, and it helps, like, save your time. Like I save so much time, right? Like, just, you don't have to waste no time kind of guessing.
Well, after that experience, and that was like earlier on when I first started, like, doing this stuff, after that experience, I definitely was, like, very upfront about, because at the same token, I didn't want people to interpret what I was doing or saying as trying to be, like, salesy or something, because that's a huge concern for me. I wanted to make sure that they knew upfront what they were, getting into. And of course, in that example, I make fun of it, but I obviously didn't communicate that well.